So, what's going on near Naked Lady, the freeway here in the IE? Trump punking Schumer and Jeffries. Hegseth turning up the heat on the military and saying we ain't putting up with this BS that we've been doing for a long time. Great for Hegseth. We'll have some updates on that. Is Dr. Roberts, the magical Negro, Laura Powell, the great attorney, does that update on the Caitlin and Taylor case of boys and girls sports in the Riverside Unified School District. As we lead story, underwear-clad woman brings freeway traffic to a standstill. That was in Inland Wire of that here a little bit. So you can see a little bit of that. I don't know why they put this Instagram. You can't get the pictures where the crowd, but you see her out there. You see the CHP officer arresting her and escorting her off of the 215 freeway over there in Purdue. So the good folks in Purdue got a good little mini peep show. I mean, she was still in her underwear, basically like a bikini, but I guess traffic was a little bit delayed, let's say, on that. Pete Hegseth. I didn't know much about him, but man, he's turning into maybe the best defense secretary we've had. He had a meeting with all the brass generals, high level lieutenants, colonels, whatever, in the military with Donald J. And he said, he laid down the law and he's not putting up with NES anymore, which it shouldn't be in our military. Here's Pete.
No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit.
We are done with that S. It's about time we got us a defense secretary and others like Robert Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and many others. They don't pull no punches. They tell it 1,000% like it is, the way it should be. We'll get more into the Hegseth files, as they say, here in a sec. But again, we have one heck of a deal. On top of that, it's got to be the most comedic president, and his staff and his video guys are absolutely fantastic. The good news about this, we're not spending any more money on the credit card. We're going to spend the $5 trillion we're coming in the federal budget instead of $7 trillion, led by Russ Vogt of Office of Management and Budget. I say keep it as it is. When the clock strikes midnight tonight, let Russ Vogt and the crew decide which bills are going to pay and which programs are going to get cut. But this is Trump and his team released this absolutely hilarious video. We go.
There's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know? at least for a while, until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
When have you ever seen a presidency even come close to issuing something like this? Absolutely hilarious. I love to get up. I really like Hakeem Jeffries in his little wispy voice. Goes around and I'm bad at doing impersonations. They elect him as leader of the Democrats. That's just proof positive. What Schumer's saying. They hate us because they know Schumer was like Bill Clinton, like Hillary Clinton, and most Democrats. Joe Biden in the 90s were totally against illegal immigration. And now they're grasping at the last straws. Again, love Mr. Trump and his team. Absolutely fabulous on that little trick. Free beer on the 210. 210 had to get into the act. It didn't want the 215 to get all the publicity and be jealous. Big rig crash spills beer across the whole 210 freeway. Let's see if we can get the ABC7 report to play. Here we go.
Accident that happened earlier this morning, about 3:30, on the 210 freeway, traveling westbound towards Vernon in the Irwindale area. And boy, this is a bad one. At one time, all lanes are shut down. Those are cans of beers. There were some small kegs. There was 2 semis, several other cars involved in this accident. 210 westbound at Vernon. All lanes are shut down for a time. You could tell on that video. Now, they've done a pretty good job to move it all into the 2 right lanes. So we want to go to the map. We don't see a huge delay right now, but we certainly are going to later on in the morning.
It's a wonder there wasn't a riot out on the freeway of people grabbing the beer cans or ones that were still there. You imagine that? Free beer, although you couldn't get to it. The CHP guy should have said, hey, here you go. Man, it's some of the things. Case update. Save Girls Sports, the attorneys for Caitlin and Taylor, the 2 Riverside girls that were booted off the Riverside cross country team and their place taken by boys. Their case is advancing through the courts. They put out a press release on that. We got it up on IE Newswire. We'll probably get to that here in a bit. But good news on that case for saving girls sports. We'll hit this one here in a bit. But the great attorney, Laura Powell, wrote this. She's from San Francisco, by the way. Wrote this in The Spectator. Was Dr. Roberts school board's magical Negro? We covered this a little bit yesterday, but Laura goes more in depth. More things coming out on that. Iowa, the state of Iowa, jerked his superintendent's credential. Oh man, this is gonna be a fun one. All across the board. You talk about utter failure. Jackie Norris, or whatever the hell her name is. Obamaite, chief of staff of Michelle when she was first lady, and we use that term loosely. This one you could pop up in the Sears catalog and order you an engine out of, if you needed a new one for your Model A or Chevrolet pickup or Chrysler sedan. 116, which I was kind of surprised. The Ford's actually a couple dollars cheaper than the Chevy 6, the old flathead. Look at the Mopar at 143. Mopar's always been the most expensive at all times. But you could order that, have it delivered. You think home delivery or Amazon is anything new? I mean, this is back, I think, this is probably in the 40s. Nice little nostalgia just to think if you think all this stuff is new that's come along. No, it isn't. One more thing. Rigging elections. The one interesting thing about this, besides Newsom, is look there at the bottom. Paid for, no on 50, Kevin McCarthy for Congress, and Thomas M. Seibel. Seibel isn't Gavi's little wifey, Jennifer Seibel. Thomas Seibel is financing the no on Prop 50, Gavin Newsom's political hosing of California before he walks out the door. We'll run, it's just a short commercial, or 15 seconds worth.
Gavin Newsom, taxes, crime, and homelessness skyrocketed. Now he wants to be president, wasting nearly $300 million tax dollars on Prop 50 to rig elections. Stop Newsom's power grab. Vote no on 50.
Again, Thomas Seibel. Very interesting. So R.D. Johnson used to say on the Laugh-In Show, go to a start page, go on the Laugh-In R.D. Johnson, and you will see what I'm talking about if you're probably under the age of 60. Nasty rollover crash at the 215 and 74 there between Paris and Menifee, Sun City area of that. DUI was suspected, reported, according to officials. That was in Paris Matters. Newsom. No new jobs in 2025. I think it's been the only job growth we've had I believe in the last 5 years in California have been government jobs. In fact, I think we're net zero if we haven't lost private sector jobs. What a smashing record from the imbecile in chief of California, Thomas Seibel. I wonder if he's related to Jenny Seibel, Newsom, wifey poo of Gabby, as he calls her, partner. He's exactly you would not make it in the military under Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump, I guarantee you, Gabby. No, with that kind of talk. It's going to be a fun show. Dr. Kelly will be in. We'll get more in depth to some of this and other things in the rest of the hour. Here we go. Yes, we are. And I love the Pete Hegseth language. We ain't putting up with dudes in dresses, fat generals, or none of the other stuff. We ain't putting up with that S. He had them all there. Had all the brass, 4-star, 3-star, lieutenant colonel, whatever, admirals. Said we're going back to how things worked right. Instead of this DEI shaming everybody, we're going back to, instead of shaming the people of calling you out when you're fat, we're going to call you out. And if you're not up to the job, you need to find you another one. If you are not up to the job of being in the military and performing the operations and how we ask, then your ass is going out the door. We'll get into some of the more of the Hegseth files here in a bit. But what, again, the language is turning. Like we said, the great San Francisco, and probably like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Nicole Shanahan, even somewhat Matt Taibbi, and a lot of others who were extremely left are now jumping on the MAGA train. And there's still room to jump on or get in the bandwagon. We haven't completely closed it off yet. But we need to deal with things honestly. So, this was the title of her yesterday column on this clown, Ian Roberts. Was Dr. Roberts a school board's magical Negro? Spike Lee coined the phrase to mock Hollywood's fondness for the saintly black character who redeems white propagandists. We're finally talking, or we're peeling back to the honest way. Hegseth did it today. Laura Powell penned this column in The Spectator yesterday. And we said it. Only reason 6 ladies in Des Moines, Iowa, of all places, hired this guy as superintendent because he was black. Didn't care if he ran murder squads over there in Uganda or whatever, or Guyana or wherever the hell he's from. Was a political assassin or run those crews. Wasn't a citizen. Oh, he's black. Let's give him 300 grand in a car, let him ride around in guns, and then he's going to educate 30,000 kids in Des Moines, Iowa, the Polk County School District. Oh, because he's black. When the news broke that the head of Iowa's largest school district was in ICE custody as an illegal alien, the response from all quarters was disbelief. Why would it be a disbelief with all the chaos that's been going on? And again, the shaming that's been happening of that. You can't say this. You can't say, oh, you're racist. Oh, you call somebody fat, and oh, you're fat shaming. And the whole thing. Oh, there's a dude with a dress and a military dress and a uniform. Or the other guy with the high heels and the pink lipstick and whatever that was stealing money or whatever he was doing. Oh, you can't say anything because he's a tranny. I mean, what in the hell? And we've done this to ourselves, but we're getting it back. More from the article from Laura Powell. As we're reading it. A school superintendent undergoes intense vetting, and every rung of the career ladder requires background checks. How could such a man possibly have slipped through? Which is what Jackie or whatever Norris, Michelle Obama's chief of staff, now school board president, the biggest school district, 30,000 kids plus in Des Moines, Iowa. And we had the glowing little pictures. You could see the little glee in her eye when she's looking at old Ian Roberts. And the other 5 ladies on there, oh, because he's black. It's the only qualification the dude had. Any hoping the full story might provide sensible explanation was quickly disappointed. The more you dig, the more absurd it becomes, although we didn't yet know the full truth about his immigration status. There's already plenty in the record that raises red flags. The biographies he's authored, Ian Andre Roberts' life reads more like a CV than a pitch for a Hollywood script in the classic tradition of the charming con man. Roberts worked hard at the presentation. He cultivated a flamboyant look, tight suits in loud colors and patterns, trapped with the signature cloth flower that lapel. Dude was a flashy dresser. Dude was flashing this, flashing that. Who knows what he was really flashing to those 6 ladies? Yet in interviews, he claimed to have been and raised in Brooklyn, not Guyana, like he claims. He contradicts his own statements everywhere across whatever he's trying to con artist his way in there. Of course, Guyana confirms he was on the police force. He claimed master's degrees and doctorates and all that, which were phonier than $3 frickin' bills. Yet he was superintendent in somewhere else, Pennsylvania. Spike Lee coined the phrase magical Negro to mock Hollywood's fondness for the saintly black character who redeems white prop antagonists. Roberts filled that role in real life. He promised not only to raise test scores, but to cleanse Des Moines of the original sins of racism. There it is. Just like Obama, this Janie Norris and all these educated, college educated white chicks who just melt at the sight of a black man. You can't criticize them, give them whatever they want. And if you say anything, you're a racist, white hillbilly, you don't like him, all you want to do is go out and shoot him. I don't know how many times I've been told that. We're telling the frickin' truth, just like Hegseth did, just like this. All you neurotic white chicks out there that are sucking up to this and doing that, that day is over. Over. When we have Laura Powell writing this article, who is a white chick educated attorney from San Francisco, your little act is done. You can stuff the racism or the name calling or anything else. That day is officially over. Over. When you got a Seibel financing the no and putting his name and dollars against Gavin Newsom, Jenny Seibel, his partner, wifey poo, who's getting tens of millions to her so-called nonprofit to make films like this, to shame you. DEI, got to have boys and girls locker rooms in sports. We're done with it. 1000%. This stuff ain't happening anymore. He's a time after time, Laura Powell, just go follow her on X. The state of Iowa jerked his ticket for superintendent today. Oh, we didn't know anything. Oh, we did all the background checks. If you did, all 6 of you should be resigning because you're freaking incompetent. You should be firing whoever was in on this cover up. The conspiracy, it had to be. Nobody could go through this many steps without everybody going, just like Pete Hegseth said in the military. We're done with that ass. No more dudes in dresses. We've had enough. And we're not going back. More, as we say, from the Pete Hegseth files. Again, he made a speech today when Donald Trump was there. They gathered all the top 100 plus generals, lieutenant colonels, admirals. Said this is, along with the opening clip, Pete Hegseth said, no dudes in dresses, no DEI. We're going to do, if you can't do the job, you need to find another one. We'll find somebody who can do it. Again, more from the Hegseth files. Hopefully.
Our warfighters are entitled to be led by the best and most capable leaders. That is who we need you all to be. Even then, in combat, even if you do everything right, you may still lose people because the enemy always gets a vote. We have a sacred duty to ensure that our warriors are led by the most capable and qualified combat leaders. This is one thing you and I can control. And we owe it to the force to deliver it. For too long, we have simply not done that. The military has been forced by foolish and reckless politicians to focus on the wrong things.
Yes. Just like Ian Roberts, 2 superintendent jobs, ruining your kids. I'm going to get high achievement. You can go to the crime syndicate 2 blocks from me. At their headquarters. Go tour the building that was built by, what was Bleckert built on that property. I've had my credentials questioned and this and that. Daryl Peden. You guys think you know so much? No, we're not putting up with stupidity, idiocracy, or anything else. More from Pete.
In many ways, this speech is about fixing decades of decay. Some of it obvious, some of it hidden. Or as the chairman has put it, we are clearing out the debris.
I love that one. Clearing out the debris. As he said, decades this has been going on. Not only just dismantling the military, dismantling our way of life. Oh, because they're black. They can just go in, burn your place down or take it over. And it's tough tomatoes. Go review the George Floyd incident. It's how you got shamed into Ian Roberts. You tell me, Barack Obama was the biggest racist leader in the history of the frickin' world. Little Jackie Norris proves that again. Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump are saying, that day is over. Tom Seibo's telling Gavin Newsom, your day is over.
Removing the distractions, clearing the way for leaders to be leaders. You might say we're ending the war on warriors.
It's been a war on warriors. There's been a war on the American people. They've systematically tried to strip down every institution, whether it's military, whether it's in our schools, whether it's in our communities or our churches or our sports. Look at the end racism stuff on the NFL games. And the whole thing, and the kneeling and the whole thing is made for you to accept. They're racist dictatorial policies that they want to shove on you. Pete Hegseth is saying not no, and Donald Trump, but hell no.
I heard someone wrote a book about that. For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons, based on their race, based on gender quotas, based on historic so-called firsts.
How do you think Ian Roberts and Jackie Norris and her little band of warriors over there got this guy on? They didn't do it overnight. But it was systematic. They didn't just break down the military, they broke down all aspects of our society. More from Pete.
We've pretended that combat arms and non-combat arms are the same thing. We've weeded out so-called toxic leaders under the guise of double-blind psychology assessments, promoting
More of that gobbledygook, $9 words. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not a doctorate. We hand out doctorates like they're candy at the old penny candy store when a penny could buy you something like that. %60 of them are going to women, and most of them aren't worth the paper they're frickin' printed on. But I could go around saying I'm a doctor and you and Barbara Giangelos and you're a racist. White privilege.
risk-averse, go-along-to-get-along conformists instead. You name it, the department did it. Foolish and reckless political leaders set the wrong compass heading, and we lost our way.
Yep. We allowed this. We elected it. It started in California. Started in the Moon Battery in 74 when Jerry Moonbeam Brown got to be governor and started all this stuff. Or a lot of it that you see today. Far off the deal. More from Pete.
This, and I want to be very clear about this, this is not about preventing women from serving. We very much value the impact of female troops. Our female officers and NCOs are the absolute best in the world. But when it comes to any job that requires physical power, to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it.
Remember, that was the whole deal about him getting confirmed. Oh, he was against women in the military and combat. No, there's a standard. You got to meet that standard. We don't care if you're green with a horn sticking out of your head. If you can't pick up 100 pounds and tote it 2 miles, then you ain't on the combat team. We don't care if your name is Fred or Juanita or Tyrone or Jasmine or whatever. We need somebody who can pick up 100 pounds and tote it 2 miles in 10 minutes. If you can't do that, you're not qualified for this job, period. We will find something else for you to do. And if you want out of the military, then here, sign the resignation papers, pack your bags, and get the hell out.
Yes. And most of all, Lord, please keep my soldiers safe. Lead them, guide them, protect them, watch over them. And as you gave all of yourself for me, help me give all of myself for them.
War is no joke. It's about as serious as it gets. You can't play games, you can't play favoritism, you can't play anything, but this is a job, and this is what we're going to do. This is what you are assigned to do. Now get your ass out there and do it. No, I want, or this. If you ain't qualified, we got to get to this point on everything. If you're not qualified to do the job, then find something you're qualified for. And if you ain't qualified for nothing, you can starve. No welfare, no crap. That's what we're going to spend, what we bring in. $5 trillion is coming into the U.S. government, unprecedented numbers. No, we're not spending $2 trillion more and then adding another $1.5 trillion on that. Or like the ARPA funds that Biden's got us in this inflation crap that we're just barely starting to flush out now. Vaya caramba. We got a lot of stuff to work on. But we're good. We're finally turning the corner. 2025. We probably started turning it 16 to 20, but then we veered back. Now we're making a course correction again. And it's none too soon. I've been sounding the warning labels. And I said, we're getting down to the point, we're getting close to that point of no return. I'm fairly confident we still have time to fix this. Because when Nicole Shanahan and Laura Powell to San Francisco, very liberal women, are agreeing with Pete Hegseth and Donald J. Trump, and a whole lot of people in between, we got We got a fighting chance. And fight we will, just like Pete Hegseth would. We'll fight in the military. We're fighting for our country. And it will be
You got about 30 seconds, Roy.
failure is not an option. As you heard Sean say, we'll be on the Mighty Met KMET.
I tried calling you earlier. I might have found something that might get you to play the music again. Not sure.
Oh, good.
It's a setting on Zoom that I had to use because I had to download the new version here.
No telling. I was almost confident it was a setting there somewhere.
All right, here we go. 10 seconds.
You got it.
For by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's the funky side guitar music. Comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the aforementioned AM band. Join your vast video audience in the EVOP Network, Rumble, X, YouTube, all that good stuff going on. We did the first part of the show. Well, nearly naked woman on the 215 freeway. Those spice things up a bit. On top of that, well, there's the one. Let's see if we can get it there. I guess people got a little bit of a peep show. She was down to her underwear, but guess she brought traffic to a standstill. Beer was strewn all over the 215 or the 210 freeway. They didn't want to be left out.
I got Kelly on the phone. Kelly's on the phone.
You got it. And all sorts of things. Pete Hegseth. Finally, we have a defense secretary for who knows how long that is actually acting like a man, a military leader. We got a whole administration that's doing that. The whole superintendent, Ian Roberts, and that whole fandango that's been going on. How this guy gets hired twice as a superintendent is a total con man. And as the great attorney from San Francisco, Laura Powell, wrote, was Dr. Roberts school board's magical Negro. We addressed that all in the first part, but as we usually do on a Monday, but we have her on Tuesday today, we have, as I've determined her, the supreme physician in all the world, expert on COVID-19 and just about everything else, Dr. Kelly Victory. Welcome to IE Newswire with Roy.
Hey, Roy, thanks for accommodating me on a Tuesday, and I'll put it on the record. If Pete Hegseth were my age, and he is awesome. He is truly awesome. We have needed for such a long time somebody with his guts and his demeanor at the helm at the Department of Defense. So I'm thrilled with him.
I suspect you weren't the only one with the hots when you were watching that. But no, it's refreshing to see some. Not only the head of the military, well, not the head, but the head under the head guy, Donald J., but, Secretary of Defense saying, we're not dealing with dudes in dresses. If you can do the job in combat, fine. If not, we'll find somebody else. We're not putting up with this woke DEI. You got to have a vaccine. All this other stuff that we ran a lot of people out of the military with. And now we got a fighting force that really probably was in danger. I don't say they were at that point, but in danger of not being able to protect us. I don't know how much more joy I can stand, but finally, I think maybe in history we'll mark 2025 as a turning point. What do you think, Dr. Kelly?
I think certainly, and each one of these positions is so important in that way, whether it's Pam Bondi or Pete Hegseth here or Kash Patel, whoever it is. And to be clear, when Hegseth stands up and says things like no more identity months, no more DEI offices, no dudes in dresses, no division, no gender delusion, no more of this, we're not having it anymore. If he offends someone and that someone chooses not to join the military, who do you think he's offending? He's not offending the people who are, we are going to re-attract the people who we want in the military, the people who aren't, trying to carve out some special exclusion for themselves so that they can be a dude using the women's bathroom or some other insanity. This is our Department of Defense. This is who is out there to protect us, from harms and from, threats, foreign and domestic. That's, so we need that at the helm. And I think each one of these positions, whether it's Bobby Kennedy, as I said, Kash Patel, whoever it is, who stands up and says, no more. I happen to love Tom Homan. I know he doesn't have an official cabinet position, but a guy who's willing to stand up and say over and over again, we are closing the border. That's what I was tasked to do. That's what I'm going to do. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is what we need. And I do think, Roy, if we stay on this trajectory where we've been since January, I think we really will turn this ship around.
On top of that, practically everybody in the Trump administration. Let's talk about the ladies, Tulsi Gabbard and Kristi Noem. They don't take no crap either, and they tell you the way it is. Like Tulsi's been saying, here's all the documents. Here's what's going on in the intelligence, Kristi Noem. We're getting the illegals out. You're not screwing with our federal agents. We're putting them in L.A., Portland, or wherever our buildings, federal buildings that we're responsible for taking care of. On top of that, we're getting people like Ian Roberts the frickin' hell out of here. Should never been in this country, much less around kids. Around leading 30,000 kids in Des Moines, Iowa, and then Pennsylvania before that. The insanity we had going on is almost mind-boggling, Dr. Kelly.
I agree, and I think each one of these, and I did not mean to certainly skip over Tulsi or Kristi Noem. They're both doing a great job. I think it's each one of them chipping away at their own little piece of it and taking back and allowing. Perhaps more important than anything, Roy, is that when these different secretaries or different cabinet members make a statement, that's powerful. But what's powerful about it is they empower everybody else. They empower regular, everyday Americans like you and me and the moms and dads at all of these schools around the country. You empower them to stand up for themselves and to say, not only no, but hell no. We don't need the schools to indoctrinate our children. We don't need to be told, that X, Y, and Z. We don't need to be mandated for X, Y, and Z. And it empowers the entire population to stand up, to feel proud to be an American, to, put their hand over their heart, to say the Pledge of Allegiance, to put a flag in their yard, to teach their children good values. Unfortunately, it took the tragic assassination of my friend Charlie Kirk, but let's face it, people are flocking back in untold numbers to church. People are claiming and proclaiming their Christianity or their other faith and saying, look, we cannot be a godless society. We were going down the tubes very quickly. We were circling the drain in ever tighter circles, and had Kamala Harris, God forbid, been elected, we would be, I can't even imagine where we would be right now. So I feel very hopeful. I don't love every single thing that Trump does. I don't love every press conference. I think we still have a lot to do in places like the Middle East and in our relationship between the Russia-Ukraine debacle. But the reality is, on par, we are so much better off, and it's only October of the first year. If we can just stay the course here, I think we will be doing very, very well in another year.
I'm not going to let you ruin my day by just even mentioning the thought of Kamala Harris if she was in right now. Man, just think of where
Oh,
The progress we made in the first 8 months. You imagine the destruction that would have went on. Another, we'd have
correct.
been making shrines to this Ian Roberts clown of that. I mean, it would have been, and everything else. Holy cow, we'd have been in. I just, man, that we should keep that thought in mind just to remind us how close we dodged that catastrophe, and hopefully we'll be moving forward with this and keep it going. And I will say this, I've said this, and I think it's going to be at midnight tonight Eastern time. They shut off the money trail. You can only spend $5 trillion. It is not a frickin' government shutdown. It's we are going to now start living within our means. And Russ Vogt, chair of Office and Management and Budget, can now decide, you know what? We're not paying for this. We're not paying for illegal health care. We're not paying for DEI stupidity. We're not doing this waste or that study or funding all this vaccine crap or all the stuff they've been hosing us with. We're done with that. I think this is going to be the greatest thing. And you know the fear tactics they always use with the words of government, you know what? It isn't working. I think maybe we had to go through the COVID con to do this, but I think that's in a large part of it. People are not buying the BS as much anymore, Dr. Kelly.
I agree with you that the COVID really exposed the government for all of its regard to all of this uncontrolled spending and irresponsibility. We need this to the Constitution that allows us to cap and hold back the salaries of the people in Congress when we get into these binds. Because I'll tell you, austerity begins at home. It begins at home. When you run out of money, the first people who should pay should be the people who are doing the spending, not everybody else. And right now, the people, Congress continues to get paid even in a shutdown. Think about that. Other government employees do not. Other government employees get furloughed, or they have to continue working, but their paychecks are accrued and withheld until the shutdown is over. But not so in Congress. They continue to earn a paycheck despite the fact that they are doing a horrible job. That doesn't happen anywhere else in business. And I think we need to change that. We need to start holding those people accountable for their abysmal ability to manage the purse strings. We have a spending problem in this country. Now, it's not lack of taxes, it's uncontrolled spending, and everybody knows it, or at least everybody who's not sitting in Congress knows it.
I think, and maybe, Trump wasn't on board with it back in April when we went through this fiasco, but I said then, put it in. I said, you can put, now, like I said, Russ Vogt's basically got signature authority to do any Doge cut he wants. I mean, he's in control of the purse strings. We're not paying for that. We're not, until Congress funds this, he can cut practically anything. Now, he's not going to cut Social Security checks. He's not going to do, they have plenty of money to run the operations of the military and everything else that need to be run. All this other crap that's been going on, now we finally, and maybe we're finally got guts enough with the Hegseth thing, and maybe that was part of the strategy. I don't know, but I'm just speculating that now we've got the tools, we're getting after it. And man, it couldn't come none too soon, Dr. Kelly.
No, I agree, and I think that I'm not sure that this particular administration will crack this. The past ones certainly haven't, and don't get me wrong, Republicans are responsible for lots of out-of-control spending. This isn't just something that falls on the Democrats. Democrats, I think, have been responsible for more of these egregious deficits, but nonetheless, it isn't just a one-sided problem. we really need, we meaning the voters, need to hold their feet to the fire. And I think a shutdown is exactly what we need. They asked, it's my understanding, for an extension until November 21st to get things sorted out. And Chuck Schumer, of course, is, digging his heels in and making sure that that can't happen, because everything's always about politics rather than what's right for the American people. They never, ever consider, look, okay, what's best for, for the country, what's best for the American people. It's always what's best for me and my reelection campaign. And that's a problem. That's another reason why term limits, I think, are so critically important, because if these different congresspeople, senators and congressmen, didn't have to be thinking about, or weren't constantly thinking about, their next campaign, maybe they would actually, for once in their lives, make the right decision, meaning the decision that represents the people who elected them rather than their own best interests.
You bring up a great point. It isn't a total Democrat problem. The Republicans have went along with this stuff for far too long. But let's face it, now it's basically down to Donald Trump and really Russ Vought of Office of Management Budget, which, from all my indications, is a very solid guy. I'm sure he's over there salivating all the stuff he's talked about for decades. Now he's in a position to get to rein in government spending. There is no politics about it. I say no more continuing resolutions. We're going to spend what we bring in. We're bringing in $5+ trillion frickin' dollars a year in the federal government. If we can't run every operation we need to on that, we got serious trouble. Take the candy away from the politicians, which we've done now, and maybe within a year's time, we could probably straighten a lot. At least we can get the ship righted in the right direction, I believe, Dr. Kelly.
I agree. Just take one example. One example, Roy. Pete Hegseth met this past week in a room with 800 generals and top brass colonels in the military. 800. How many people do you need at that level of the military? Do you know what each of those guys are? Is they're cake eaters. They sit in, they don't carry guns. They don't protect us. They have office jobs. They walk around with a lot of metal on their shoulders, a lot of candy on the front of their uniforms. And look, I love the military, but the idea that we are paying 800 generals and 4 and 5 stars is insanity. I mean, James Madison, when he wrote the Constitution, warned about that. He warned about having a too heavy a military and an army in place all the time. When you are paid, we have so much fat in our government, and it's not just, I like to point out all the time, Department of Education, and God love Bobby Kennedy for cutting out tens of thousands of jobs in HHS. But we need to look at the military as well. I'm all for military spending, but not spending for yet another general to sit in an office, in his paneled library and smoke a cigar. We need people who are actually out there protecting this country, meaning, earning their pay. We aren't spending our money wisely, or they aren't spending our money wisely on our behalf. And that is my big problem. We need that, Elon Musk, a lot of people were down on him. I thought he was great because he was going department to department and saying, cut this fat out. And I'll tell you, the military should not be off limits when it comes to making cuts. And what happens is the people in Congress, people in the Senate spin that to say, oh, we can't cut the Department of Defense. Let's explain to people what it is you're cutting. You're not cutting, the people who are actually out there protecting us. You're cutting a bunch of fat off the steak. We need the beef, not the fat.
Exactly right. I said military spending, we can cut $250 billion, right off the top. Get back, and notice how they changed the term from defense spending to military spending. We get back to defense spending, there's $250-300 billion we can cut off the military budget, call it a defense budget, defend the United States like we're constitutionally supposed to, and then again, that would go tons of eliminating these reoccurring, ever expanding deficits and $36 trillion in debt and the whole enchilada, Dr. Kelly.
100%. And so that's what I would like to see happen. I don't know if Trump has his eye on that or exactly how you do that. I'm guessing it would have to look a lot like incentivized retirement. You've got to get these people to retire. You can't just fire them. They are career military people, but you can incentivize them taking early retirement. They get massive, massive benefits packages for the rest of their lives. In terms of everything from medical insurance and everything else for the rest of their lives. But I think we can get some of them off of the payroll, and I think that would go a long way to cleaning up the books. The uncontrolled spending is really going to tank us, truly, if we don't get our arms around it.
Got a couple minutes left. Anything on the medical front we should be aware of?
Well, not medical per se, but I will say that on Monday, many people didn't see it, but the president did announce the settlement in his class action lawsuit against Google and YouTube for censorship. I was the president's first co-plaintiff in that class action lawsuit, and I'm happy to say that it was settled. Google agreed to pay the president $24.5 million, the vast majority of which will go to his presidential library. A small portion was carved out for the 7 co-plaintiffs in the suit, but it is a powerful statement. This falls in line with all of his other successes recently against ABC and Twitter and Facebook with regard to censorship. He's the first president in history who has stood up to this egregious breach of our First Amendment rights to free speech, and I give him a lot of credit. I'm very grateful that he included me and invited me into the lawsuit because it is a landmark case and says we will not allow Americans to be silenced.
A big thank you to you for putting your name on the line on that. I'm sure, among other things, you took a lot of brickbats for that one, too.
I did.
Yeah, we got to stand up for what's right. Thanks for being on, Dr. Kelly. We'll do this again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Roy.
Dr. Kelly Victory saying it as we say, as only she can. I've been meaning to ask her about that case. It was like 3 or 4 years ago or something that I remembered. I remembered it, and then as everything goes on, and that I didn't realize that was part of that one of the Google settlement that just came down. So at least that part is done, and we got to have more people like Dr. Kelly and everyone else, and people in the Trump administration we went through, and all of us. All of us should take some solace and strength to stand up. Don't be afraid of these clowns. Yeah, it can be scary sometimes. You can do that, but ultimately, you got to know. Like Charlie Kirk said, there's worse things than dying with your boots on. Bottom line is, the least you got to try to stand up for what is right. Because if you don't, you'll get Ian Roberts running your school, which, like I've said, in a lot of these cases, in most cases, not only our education system, in a lot of things, he wasn't qualified to manage a popsicle cart. We got to stop this extraneous BS. Like Pete Hegseth said, we're just not doing this anymore. We're done. You don't like it? Well, like Donald J., we'll put out a video with Hakeem Jeffries in his little Mexican sombrero And Chuck Schumer is saying, yeah, well, all we got left is go after the illegal Mexicans because they can't speak English. And that's really what they're saying is this is why they want to dumb you down. This is why they want you to be afraid. Same thing. No education, make you scared. Like the illegal alien, scared to death, like all this stuff, all this fear mongering, been going on Moreno Valley to the district of criminals and all points in between. That's how they control you. And you just, I guess, just stop playing their game. Stop playing their game. We're the United States of frickin' America. The biggest, baddest country in the history of the world. We don't cower to nobody. We don't do stupid. We're not tolerating it at all anymore for any reason. That's what Mr. Trump's saying. Mr. Hegseth said that. Dr. Kelly said that. And all these folks, for various reasons, have been willing to put Tom Homan, have been willing to put it on the line. And if they're willing to put it on the line, we should also. Stand up for your daughters. When they're getting harassed in school and physically dangered and exposed to things they should never be exposed to. We got a fighting chance. We got some good people surrounded to us. We lost one good one in Charlie Kirk, but as they say, we got to pick up that slack. Dig a little deeper. Get after it. Get it done. No excuses. We're just done. We're done with stupid. And we're not doing it anymore. Take her away, Sean.
All right, Roy, real quickly, down in the bottom left hand of the screen, you see the little microphone down there of Zoom?
Let me pull up Zoom. Oh, come on, Zoom. Yeah, okay, got it.
There's like a little tab to the side. Open up the tab.
Right.
Do you see some settings there?
Yes.
Is there one for microphone modes? Do you see something that says microphone modes?
Microphone. See, inline microphone, USB cable.
It should be in another category. You should see select microphones, select the speaker, microphone modes.
Microphone modes. I'm not seeing that. Send me a picture of it or something on that. See if I can find it from there.
All right, I can try doing that, but it might be in your other settings on your, since you're not using, I don't know which one you're using. So
right.
But keep in mind, you're looking for a setting that says original sound for musicians. Okay.
Okay.
When you look for that in your settings, original sound for musicians.
Okay.
And you're going to want to click on that. And that should get your music through.
We'll see. But yeah, if you can do a copy and paste to something of it or like that, or, like a snip of it.
I can try. I don't really have much time to do it right now, but.
Right. No, I mean, no big deal. Whenever you get around to it, if you can, if you can't, no big deal. But yeah, if you can You can give me a picture of it, then it obviously it makes it easier.
All right, Roy, take it easy.
Got it. Thanks.
Bye.